Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me at the closing ceremony of this very important conference of the youth, of African youth in the diaspora. I would like first to thank the organizers for considering the Pan-African Youth Union and, of course, making sure that we join the youth of the diaspora, and of course to strengthen our ties and our relations in defending the rights of African youth at all levels, including in the continent and in the diaspora. Despite my absence in the room, I am very grateful for the fact that you are considering this important continental youth structure. As you may know, you may be aware, the Pan-African Youth Union functions as a continental youth organization already recognized by the African Youth Union. I would like first to acknowledge the President of Africa Diaspora Youth Network in Europe and all the brothers and sisters working in this wonderful and important structure, and of course all the distinguished participants. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulating you first for hosting this activity, which is very important for the development of Africa, as African youth also have the opportunity to meet in the diaspora and discuss on matters affecting Africa. As you all may know, the Pan-African Youth Union is functioning under the African Union, created since 1962 in Accra by an head of state summit, which is also doing its best in giving a new image to the organization, and of course trying to play the role that it has to play for the African youth and represent the youth of Africa accordingly. We are just from being elected in South Africa 6 months ago, and as you know, the committee is composed of 12 people: President, myself from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Vice President from North Africa, Nabil Muhammad. From Algeria, we have the Vice President West Africa, Aliou Oumarou from Niger. We have the Vice President from Central Africa, Wildy Baroka from Sao Tome and Principe. We have the Vice President from East Africa, Said Saleh from Eritrea. We have the Vice President from Southern Africa, Delfino Osta Grilla. We have the Secretary General, Suleiman Sidibe from Mali. We have the Deputy Secretary General from North Africa, Hassan Ali from Egypt. We have the Deputy Secretary General of West Africa, Olabi Damien Jean from Benin. We have the Deputy Secretary General from Central Africa, Sergil Ngoma is from Congo, Brazzaville. And we have the Deputy Secretary General from East Africa, Mboni Muhammad Muhita from Tanzania, and the Deputy Secretary General from Southern Africa, Dalito Mbewe from Zambia, as well as one Deputy Secretary General from the host country, Sudan, where our headquarters is based. I'm aware that this conference is focused on training for trainers, on social project management for youth inclusion under the theme Unlock the Youth Potential, Employability and Entrepreneurial Skills for Development. And as we speak on entrepreneurship, we all know that the brain drain costs around 4 billion a year to our continent to compensate for the deficit of performing staff, governments, private companies, or states are forced to call on international experts. Africa is the continent so rich in natural and human resources. The continent has a lot of resources and wealth that can ensure its takeoff. We just need to analyze them. The future is ours. The Pan-African Youth Union is in the process of encouraging each African state to have a national federation of young entrepreneurs or a national junior chamber of commerce, which will then at a later stage form an African Federation of Young Entrepreneurs or African Junior Chamber of Commerce. And this shall involve African youth in the diaspora to invest in Africa, because investing home is our responsibility, for it benefits our people and develop our continent. This should be forming and initiating young Africans to entrepreneurship, exchanging experiences in the creation of management of companies, be supporting various forms, young entrepreneurs and those who are about to embark on the vision of creating their own businesses, and so on. Your support in the establishment of this structure, we will overcome most of the issues affecting African youth, including unemployment. Given that the diaspora can play an important role in the recovery and reconstruction of states, young Africans in the diaspora, we must all stand hand in hand to develop our dear continent. We need to build this continent, to invest in the continent, protect and defend it. The Pan-African Youth Union is greatly open to all African youth without exception. In the continent like in the diaspora, in the search of solutions to the many problems that plague everyday young Africans. Many efforts will be at the continental level to bring the diaspora to support the continent construction process. This effort requires the patriotism of the members of the diaspora, and then try to encourage our governments to put in place incentives that encourage the diaspora to participate in the strengthening of national and institutional capacities. Similarly, our governments are comforted to see that the diaspora can make an important contribution to the growth of our national economies through their knowledge. We are calling once again African leaders to put in place effective youth attention policies, retention policies, and all those who are tempted to migrate. These policies go through increased job creation for young people. Africa and the West should join hands, as Africa alone cannot solve this problem, and the West either. We want to see young, rich Africans who reflect the wealth of the continent. The resources of Africa should be seen in its young people, not leaving Africa without benefiting Africans. We must produce and consume home. As we speak, there is a tripartite head of state and government summit of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, East Africa Community, EAC, Southern Africa Development Community, SADC, taking place in Egypt. They will be discussing the way to make it easier for movement of people, goods and services among African countries, especially entrepreneurs should have access to market in any African country they wish to invest in. Kenya this year, as you may know, in July, will be hosting the World Entrepreneurship Summit. And I think from this, young African entrepreneurs can strongly embark on a journey of promoting entrepreneurship, and in this regard, we all have to support Kenya, for the success of Kenya is the success of African continent. African youth, we are joining the first 10 years implementation of the Agenda 2063 in silencing the guns by 2020, as Africa should invest in its people than investing in fighting ourselves. Long live Africa, long live the African youth in the diaspora, long live all the young leaders of Africa. I thank you.